Hello and welcome to my vodcast. My name is Max Herron-Vellacott and I will be taking a moment out of your day to discuss Google researchers' data visualization of their history of music. But let me first quickly begin with why it is important to take a considerable amount of time and effort in deciding how to best present your data. Data visualization is critical in determining changes over time and frequency, analyzing risk, identifying patterns, and pinpointing emerging trends, as well as to convey the message of your findings from your dataset. Without careful consideration of these factors, the reader can be left shortchanged or dismayed by the visualization's findings, or completely miss out on why the data scientist has prepared it in the first place. Using Emery and Evergreen's data visualization checklist, it scored a whopping 91.7%, clearly within the parameters of what constitutes a great data visualization. Now, why did I choose this topic? Well, I suppose during a time when our days are spent navigating the ever-changing state quarantine laws and tracking global coronavirus infection rates, I thought it prudent to discuss something more light-hearted, given the tense circumstances we are all dealing with. And with that said, and like many other industries, the music industry faces unprecedented disruption with a complete shutdown of live music venues. Music streaming contributes to an artist's wallet much less as a proportion of total income than physical CD and vinyl sales used to contribute. This data is collated from streaming and download data trends within Google's view. The timeline shows genres of music waxing and waning based on how many Google Play music users have an artist or album in their music library. Each genre in this graphic is represented by a different color band, with the thickness of the band showing you the popularity of that music released each year in that genre. For example, the rock band is wide in the 1960s and 70s, since many users' libraries contain rock albums released in that time period. The dynamic nature of the visualization and the deep data set allow you to get lost in the data while being able to easily navigate it. I decided to follow the path of one of my favorite genres of music, metal, to find some information on some subgenres and bands that I may not already know. I already noticed that the metal genre didn't even begin until the late 1960s and hasn't been nearly as popular relative to other genres since the peak in the late 1980s. Something cool about this visualization is that if you scroll down on any page in the graphic, it will show you popular albums from each genre, subgenre, and artist you explore. At the bottom of each screenshot on slides 3 to 6, you can see this quite well. This can enable the user to possibly find new artists and bands to listen to. This is a great tool to aid music discovery. Another interesting point made, immediately obvious to the viewer on the front page, is that there are many more genres of music that exist now than did 70 years ago. Now back to the dive. I went one step further to a subgenre that I listen to quite frequently, thrash metal, that looks to be dominated by one of my favorite bands of all time, Metallica. Metallica burst onto the scene in the San Francisco Bay Area in the early 1980s and has been feverish with album releases and world tours ever since. It's pretty incredible that I started looking at the whole industry and have now landed on one of my favorite bands, which has given me a greater appreciation of what they have done to contribute to their genre and subgenre. The beauty of this visualization is that you can move from looking at the entire music landscape over a considerable amount of its history and then land on a band that has been contributing to that landscape for many decades. Music discovery was once dominated by radio, live music venues, and word of mouth. In this age of technology, you're probably more likely to discover a new band from an algorithm than from a friend. Even a quirky and colorful data visualization is likely to recommend a new band for you to fall in love with. Simply amazing. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my point of view today. Stay safe and remember to wash your hands.